Good morning, everyone. My name is Deanne Oley, and we are going to get started on next steps with Google Classroom. Just a couple of housekeeping things. As I mentioned, if you were on and heard this, I'm sorry for the repeat, but we are in a Zoom webinar as opposed to a Zoom meeting. Therefore, you do not have a microphone or a video to unmute yourself or turn your video on, because I have that turned off. I'm going to direct you to use the Q&A for all of your questions. And just as an FYI, if we get to, there's going to be, based on the last session I did with next steps, there were a lot of really specific questions. And I just want to let you know that on Tuesday, next Tuesday at 9 a.m. and next Wednesday at 1:15 p.m., I will be having Google Classroom question and answer office hours so that you can jump in and ask any question you want. Not that you can't ask questions today, but we don't want it to get to be all questions throughout this session so that we can get through everything. On top of that, as you know, we are certainly in unprecedented times, and we want to kind of be patient. We want to be gracious and well, you know, realize we're all learning together. I'm going to put in my little disclaimer. I have 2 dogs. Right now they're sleeping and napping. Hopefully they stay that way throughout this session. If not, and they begin barking, I apologize. But you know how it is. You're all working from home, so we all have obstacles to overcome. I'm going to go back here. This is the link that will get you to this slide deck, and I'm sure one of the panelists will put that in the chat for you that you can access it, and you can also access it a little bit later at the end of the session. So it's bit.ly/CLIUGCNS, and that's all in capital letters. And I apologize for the barking. Of course, has started because they see someone walking outside. Again, the tech check, this is a webinar, so you're muted with your video turned off. Use the Q&A to answer or ask questions. If you can't hear me, of course, check your computer volume or send a message to the Q&A, and know that this session is being recorded. There is my contact information, and that will be available again at the end of the session. In this session, this is next steps with Google Classroom. So we've already done a beginner, getting started with Google Classroom. In this session, we are going to learn how to add content, such as announcements, materials. We're going to learn how to create assignments and quizzes, questions, things like that. And we're going to do a brief exploration of grading and what's called Guardian access. In Google Classroom, as you know, it allows us to share files with our students. It allows us to create assignments for them, push it out to our students, grading assignments, and communicating with our students. So these are all things that we can do inside of Google Classroom. The slide deck, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the slide deck up, just so you're aware. I do have screenshots in here of all of the things that I will be doing live inside of Google Classroom. But I really want to be live so that you can see how it works and what's happening. So to begin, you're either, if you want to log into your school Google account and be inside of Google Classroom while I am and doing the same things I am, or you can just follow along and then jump into your own Google Classroom later and go through all of these things. So of course, to get to your Google Classroom, you're going to log into your school Google account, go to your grid in the upper right corner, click on that and choose Google Classroom and open it. And access your class. So at this point, I'm going to jump out of my slide deck and I'm going to go into Google Classroom. So this is my Google Classroom. And you can see I have a bunch of classes in here. So when you land on Google Classroom, of course, you land on your dashboard, and your dashboard gives you any class that you have created already. I'm going to use this one today, the CLIU Ready PD class. I'm going to open that up. When I open that up, of course, you're going to see your classroom landing page is the stream. Up across the top, we have stream, classwork, people, and grades. I will be showing you the instructor side, which I'm on right now, as well as the student side. So we will get to the student side in a little bit. As the instructor, this is what I'm looking at. You'll see there's some assignments already here on my stream. And they're assignments I've created. I did some of those in the other session that I did this week. We are going to jump right to the classwork because I want to get in here and show you how we create and organize. In classwork tab, we have a create button. We also have a Google Calendar button and a class drive folder. So the Google Calendar, if I click on that, it's going to take me to my Google Calendar and show me all of the assignments that I have created on the calendar based on the due date of the assignment. If I am running 5 or 6 different classes, all of those are going to show up on my Google Calendar. My class drive folder. The class drive folder is going to be the folder in your Google Drive that houses all of the documents, slide decks, spreadsheets, anything that you have associated with this class will be in the Google Drive folder for this class. And once you create a class, it automatically generates a folder in your Google Drive. So you don't have to go and do that. It does it for you. So I'm going to go to the Create tab, the Create button. And when I click on that, I'm going to have a drop down. Now, I want you to ignore Kami assignment. Kami is something I have installed on my machine, and that's why it's showing up. You will likely not see Kami assignment unless you are using Kami. So we're going to ignore that today. So you are not likely seeing that in your drop down. We are going to start with creating an assignment. So I'm going to choose assignment. And this is the screen that I get. When I get this screen for creating my assignment, I go over to this area and I title it. So we're going to call this Friday Remote Assignment. In here, I am going to put my instructions for my students. What do I want them to do with this assignment? What is the direction? So I'm going to say read passage and write a 1 paragraph reflection. Now, this area down here, I have an add button and I have a create button. The add button will allow me to add any document or file that I have in my Google Drive, anywhere in my Google Drive. So if I click on that, it automatically takes me to my drive, recent, anything I've uploaded, shared drives, things like that. So I can go to my drive and I can choose a file from anywhere. I can upload a file. I can take any of these files. Whatever I want, I can take that file and choose it, and it attaches it. Now, the other thing I can also from here provide a link. I could provide a file from my computer that might not be in my drive, and I can provide a YouTube video. If I go to create, this will automatically allow me to create a fresh, blank document, slide, sheet, drawing form. Let's say I want to create a document for this assignment because I don't have one created already. So this is what it does. It opens up a new blank document for me, and this is my Friday remote, remote assignment. And in here, read passage, and this is, the passage, I might have copied the passage to here. And then they write reflection. Okay, I'm done. Now I can close this because here it is. It still says untitled, but as soon as you assign it, it automatically refreshes and it will title this document whatever I had it titled, which was Friday Remote Assignment. This document has an option here. So this option is students can view the file, students can edit the file, or make a copy for each student. It defaults to students can view the file. If you allow students to just, if you allow students to just view the file, that's all they're going to be able to do is view the file. If you allow them to edit it, that means they're all editing that same file, that same document on top of each other. Now, that might be something you want to use if you have group assignments where students are collaborating on something, or you have a class document that you want students to collaborate in. But for this assignment, typically you would use make a copy for each student. So what this does is this pushes out, once this gets assigned, every single student will have their own copy of this document. They'll read that passage, they'll write their own reflection, and they will submit that document back to you. In this area over here, who is it for? It's for my CLIU Ready PD course. But if I'm teaching multiple classes that are getting the same assignment, I can check those boxes. Who do I want it to? In this case, these are all the students in this class. I may want to differentiate this assignment, and I may only want to assign it to Kay Tremba and JM Gruber. And then Eric Leck and CLIU Ed Tech get a different copy of this assignment because it's a different version, maybe for modifications, enrichment, for anything. Any way I want to differentiate that, I can do that by picking the students it goes to. What are the points that are associated with this assignment? I can make it ungraded, or I could define a point value. Maybe it's only worth 50 points. What is my due date? I want to say it's due tomorrow, or I'm sorry, not tomorrow, that was Tuesday. Tomorrow is Saturday. We don't want to do on a Saturday. I want this due on Monday. And do I want to set a time? No, I don't need a time. Google Classroom now has the option to do rubrics and originality reports. We aren't going to get to those today, but know that they're available. And I'm going to give you a link at the end of the slide deck today that's going to take you to the Google Classroom help area where you can get some more information on rubrics and originality reports. This is all completed now, and I'm going to assign it. Once I have everything set, all my parameters, I have my due dates, who it's going to, do I want it to be in a topic? If I've created topics, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit, I can add it to a topic. What that means is in my classwork, everything's going to be broken down by topics, and maybe that's going to be by units. That's going to be by lessons, by actual topics. And these are things that are your decisions. These are all your decisions, however you want to organize your class. I'm going to say no topic right now, and I'm going to assign it. You'll see it's saving and assigning. Once it does that, it takes me back to my classwork. And here it is. It popped right at the top, Friday remote assignment, because your classwork is going to have everything that you've done chronologically, unless you are putting it in a topic, as you can see. Now, Kelly and Jordan, are we okay? Are there questions about creating an assignment?
No questions, Dee.
Perfect. Okay, so now I am going to go back to my create button, and we are going to go to a quiz assignment. So this is creating a quiz assignment. As soon as I choose quiz assignment, Google Classroom automatically creates for you a blank form right here. Now, you do not have to use this blank form to create your quiz here on the fly. If you already have a quiz created in Forms in your Google Drive, you can use that. And again, you would just go to Add from your Google Drive, and you would go find that form and attach it. And let's say I use this one right here. I've chosen this quiz that's already created in my Google Drive, and I add it. As you can see, here it is. But that blank quiz is still sitting there. If I don't want that blank quiz, I just click on the X and remove it. In this case, I'm going to remove this one that I showed you how to just add from your Google Drive, because I want to use the blank quiz so that I can show you how that works. So I'm going to remove my quiz work from home. I'm going to keep my blank quiz. There's a feature right here that is fairly new in these quizzes. If you are a Chromebook school, you can put locked mode on Chromebooks. What that means is when your students take the quiz, it's going to lock their Chromebook that they cannot do anything but the quiz. So they can't go out and search for answers or go to files that they have and pull answers, anything like that. So it's going to lock it. And they're only going to be able at that time access that quiz until they've submitted it. Then they'll be able to get to other things on their computer. So that's what locked mode on Chromebooks means. So I'm going to open this quiz, and you'll see it gives me a blank form. Now, we ran a Google Forms workshop just the other day. Kelly ran one of those, so you can find that recording on our live PD site in case you're interested in learning more about forms. But for now, you're going to see this blank quiz. I could title it like everything else. I'm going to call it Friday Quiz. I can put a description for the form, which is our description for the quiz, I should say, right here for students. Please complete and submit when finished. Now I have questions. And these questions are going to work just like any other Google form that you do. Because it is automatically a quiz, because we created it in our quiz assignment, we have some other things down here. So let's say my question is, what is the national bird? And I'm going to put cardinal. And I think I spelled that incorrectly, but that's okay. Bald eagle, robin. As the teacher, when I'm creating this quiz, I go here to answer key, and I have to choose the correct answer. It's bald eagle. I want this to be worth 5 points. And if I want to add answer feedback, I can do that. So when they do a correct answer, I could say, great job. There's all kinds of different things you can do there. I'm done. This right here is very important, folks. The required button. If you don't turn this on, they are going to be able to skip over a question. If you have this turned on, they have to answer the question before they submit their quiz. I'm just going to add one more so you can see what it looks like. I just duplicated it because that's the button I hit. And here I'm going to say, please write a brief paragraph about whatever. I'm going to choose my type of question, short answer, paragraph, file upload, whatever it might be. I'm going to say paragraph. When I say paragraph, there's our little 3 dots over here. I can choose response validation. This will allow me to choose the length of, say I want them to write a 50-word paragraph or a 200-word essay or whatever that might be. I can choose here maximum and minimum character counts. So there's some customization that can happen here. I'm not going to do that right now because I just want to show you that these things are optional. And again, forms is another session. But so you know, now I've created this quiz. I go back to my classroom. Okay. Once I go back to my classroom, I can set my point value. Again, I can set my due date and all of those things. I'm assigning it to all my students. I'm titling it Friday quiz, and I'm going to assign it. And here it is right here. Okay. At any time, I could edit it from here. I could delete it, or I could copy the link with any of my assignments. Edit, delete, copy link. Any questions on a quiz? We're good? Okay.
There's no questions, Dee. Everyone must be as tired as us on this Friday morning.
I believe it because I'm exhausted. Working from home like this has been quite a tiring is all I could say about that. Okay, so the next thing in Create I'm going to look at is a question. And that's just exactly what it is. It's a question. It's a great way for you to pose a question to your students where you can kind of emulate a discussion board. I might want to say, what are you liking the most about remote instruction? And you'll see, short answer. I can put instructions in here. I could add a file. I might say, watch this YouTube video. And I want everybody to respond to it. Over here in this area, you can see students can reply to each other. So you could really make this like it's a discussion thread for your students. I can say I want it to be a short answer, or I can pose a question and make it multiple choice. I can go here and ask instead of assign. In the other ones, you'll see that it was assign. Now it's an ask. Are we good? The other thing, yep.
Are you moving on to something else? Can you, there was a question about the
Sure.
quiz. If you could just go back to quiz a moment,
Sure.
The feature that you shared where you could lock a Chromebook,
Yes.
is that only with Chromebooks?
Yep.
Is there a way to prevent a student from surfing the web
on another
on a
device?
Chromebook?
There is not, unless your district is using some sort of a paid for purchased lockdown browser.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The other thing here is material. Material is a great way for you to add maybe class notes. So you'll see my option is to only post it Friday notes. And I might want to go here and add from my Google Drive. I've already got the class notes or reference documents or something I might want to add. So let's say I go here. Kelly, this is your uses of Google Forms. And I post it. All this is now doing is posting something to my stream for students to access. Ooh, and it really may be just that, classroom notes, it may be reference documents, it may be something that you want them to always be able to access and look at. So that's what you would use materials for. Once I get through this, folks, I'm going to go to the other side and show you what it looks like from the student end. And then we'll come back here. Reusing a post. This is great if you are you're teaching multiple of the same course, or you want to reuse something from a course that you had last year. So you'll see I can select a class and then I can select something from that class and reuse it in this particular class. And you can see down here, when I choose something, there is a checkbox that says create new copies of all the attachments. I would suggest doing that so you have fresh copies of those attachments in the Drive folder for the class that you're working in now. All I would do is grab it and reuse it. So it's really nice to be able to take these assignments from or materials or quizzes from something else that you've done. Okay, here it is right here. I put it under that unit, material sample. So that's reusing.
D, question.
Yes.
Do assignments delete once the due date is over?
They do not.
So a student can submit a late assignment.
They can, yes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then topics. If I create a topic, all it is I get this little box that says add the topic. And you'll see down here, I have topics added, Unit 3, flowers, frogs, Unit 1. So it's really just about arranging. So I can take something and drag it down under a topic so that if you want to keep things streamlined for yourself and for your students. And you'll see these, lesson 1 frogs and new assignment. I never assigned them. So they are sitting in drafts. So I can work on an assignment and not assign it, and it just sits in drafts. I could also set up an assignment to post at a later date. Okay. So that one's one that I already, let's see, here's a new assignment right here, and I want to edit the assignment. So I can schedule that assignment. If you look right here where the assign button is, I haven't assigned this one yet. That was the one that was sitting in drafts, but I could schedule it. So if I'm lesson planning, working on, Sunday afternoon, and I'm working on my lessons and my assignments for the week, I can assign them all to go out at a specific date and time. So I can schedule this for April 8th at 8 a.m. And that's when that assignment will post. So if I'm in my back in my classwork tab, I can see right there, it is scheduled for April 8th at 8 a.m. So that's when the students will have access to it. Are we okay? Okay. So I'm going to jump.
There's a question.
Okay.
Sorry. How do you know the assignment is turned in late? Is the completed assignment time-stamped when submitted?
Yes, you'll know exactly when it's submitted, and you will see it, and it will come in as a late assignment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to come back to people and grades in a moment, but I want to jump to what this looks like for the student. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at as the teacher, right? I'm looking at these are all the new things that have been posted in the stream. Remember, it defaults to the stream, and I can automatically share something with my class here if I wanted to, but I find it easier to do it from the classwork tab. Anyway, this is what I'm looking at as a teacher. I'm going to go to the student, and I am, oops, sorry about that. I'm in as a student, and I'm going to open up that CLIU Ready. Now you can see as a student, this is what I have. I don't have a grades tab. And I have my upcoming. It's showing me that due today is a quiz and due Monday is this assignment. I can view them all, and it's going to show me everything here. It's going to tell me what's assigned to me, what I've already done. I got a 90 out of 100 on this assignment. This one is missing, meaning I didn't do it. This one was turned in and done late. Do you see that? That's me seeing this as a student. I'm going to go back to where I was, and I'm going to look at my classwork tab. So as a student, this is what I see in my classwork tab. I can view my work. It will take me right back to that same thing we just looked at. If I want to do something, I'm going to do this Friday remote assignment. This is me as a student. I read the passage. Oop, let me go back one. Got it. Okay, I'm writing my reflection. Me and student. I'm done. I can go over here and turn it in. Once I turn it in, gives me this screen, and it says to me as a student, are you sure you want to turn this in? Are you ready? Have you done everything you need to do? Yep, I'm going to turn it in. Okay, I could unsubmit it if I needed to. Unsubmit, add, or change attachments. Don't forget to resubmit once you're done. So I can unsubmit it if I went, oh no, I hit that button by mistake as a student. I didn't mean to submit it. I wasn't done. I could do that. Okay. I could add comments here. And right before I did that, you might have noticed that over here there was an attach, kind of an attach button. That allows me to attach any other documents to that assignment, because I may have something else that I need to attach to it. I'm going to go back to the main page, and I'm going to go to my classwork, and let's see what else I didn't submit. Wednesday quiz, Friday quiz. Maybe I need to do this one. I want to view the assignment. Here it is. The national bird is a cardinal. Brief paragraph about remote. You'll see down here, the student can send themselves a copy of their responses by just toggling this button. If they want to, and then they'll get an email. I submit. I can view my score. Oh no, I got that wrong. I got everything wrong because of the way it was set up. The teacher, this is obviously wrong, and I didn't put the correct answer in here. I was just, as a teacher, playing with that. So when I go back over here to my classroom as a student, again, I go to my classwork, I can view my work, and I can see I've turned this in, I've turned this in, I turned this in late, this is still missing, I need to do that, and these two were assigned. So that's what it looks like on the student end. Do I have questions about that before I go back to the teacher side?
No questions.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the teacher end, and let me just refresh this to be sure that I have everything I need. So I'm going to go now to, I have two tabs I didn't look at yet, my people tab and my grades tab. So if I go to my grades tab, you're going to see this populating here. So I see that CLI UEdTech, that's the student side I was just showing you. A couple things have been turned in here. So if I go here, I have a drop down, return or view submission. I can view the submission of the Friday quiz. I can return the submission. It's been turned in. I can.
We do have a question, Dee.
Okay.
Somebody is asking in the Q&A, they saw under student view in the comment tab, they're asking, can students comment on other student work?
No. They cannot comment on other students' work in an assignment. Now, if you remember the question and allowing for students to comment, they can in there. That's kind of, if we use that like as a discussion board, but they cannot comment on other students' work. We okay?
No other open questions. Thank you.
Okay. So here's that remote assignment. This is the student's work. I'm looking at this. And as a teacher, I can provide comments. I can add anything I want here. There is what's called, once you get into this and you start doing your assignments and such, and you start using Classroom, you're going to see that you're going to be able to build what's called a comment bank. Because let's say you have, let's say you're a high school English teacher and you have 120 essays to grade, and you commenting, it might become very cumbersome over time, but you can create comments that are specific to the assignment so that you can just use them over and over for your students. You might have something that you want to use with each student or based on a specific answer or something, and they would be in the comment bank so that you can just click on them and boom, it adds them right in there. So here is my assignment that I'm grading. This student is going to get a 50 out of 50. When I do that, I've got a return button, or I've got to return multiple submissions or return this submission. We're going to return this submission because that's all we're working on right now. I return this work to one student, and boom, it's returned. So now I can go to another student, or I can just toggle through the students here with these arrows. I'm going to go back to my grade book, and you can see that person got a 50. That's the one I just graded. I can click on the assignment itself in the grade book. I can click on a person in the grade book. When I click on a person, it takes me to that person. So I can see everything that student has done. I'm going to go back to this main page, bring me back to my tabs area, and are we okay with the grade book for right now? And because then I'm going to move on to the people tab. Okay, I'm going to move to the people tab. Now, you're going to see in the people tab an invite.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't unmute myself fast enough. There was a question. If you go back to grades, it says, I returned an assignment to a student with a comment. It now doesn't show that she submitted it. Will her work show in grades?
They returned.
I returned an assignment to a student with a comment.
Okay, so the assignment wasn't graded. You just returned it with a comment.
It now doesn't show that she submitted it. Will her work show in grades?
Well, the question I have is, when you returned that work with the comment, did you grade the work or just return it with a comment?
Elizabeth, if you would like to answer that question in the chat. And also another question while we're waiting for that answer. Oh, she said just returned with comment.
Okay, so so no, it's now, it is not officially a submitted assignment until, so what happens is, Elizabeth, what happened was the student submitted an assignment to you. You returned the assignment with a comment. And I'm going to make an assumption here, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm going to make an assumption that your comment was, when you returned it with just a comment as opposed to a grade, it was possibly asking the student to make a change or an edit to the assignment, which is what the system is assuming, until you grade it. So now what's going to happen is that student should get that comment, make the adjustments that you've asked them to make, and resubmit it. Am I right in that assumption?
She said her comment was just good job. So I'm guessing there is a button that you have to finalize.
Yeah, so you have to, if you didn't give them a grade and it's a graded assignment, then that's what's happening. You need to grade that assignment.
Okay, and then
You said there was another question?
There was another question, yes, and the question is on the grade book, what you're looking at right now.
Okay.
The question is, so do you have to input grades manually?
Yes.
Okay, and I have a question that I'm going to throw out there based on another question that I saw. If you want to see what your students are seeing, and you create can you create a student in your class as like the demo student? I don't think you can, right? Because you have to, that person or student has to be affiliated with the school.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Now, the way I was just doing it, what you saw was I have a generic email address that we use for something else in our CLIU domain. And that allowed me to add that person as a student, add that email address, I should say, as a student in my class. So unless, now, there's multiple answers to that, I should say, because it depends on how the back end is set up in your district. And when I say that, I mean the back end of Google, not Google Classroom, but G Suite, the educational platform. It depends. It really does depend. They may be able to, it may be set up that you can just add your Gmail, your own personal Gmail to see it. So displaying student view, it is just, I know if you're using an LMS, you're able to look at it and, let me see what my kids are seeing. That's not an option right now in Google Classroom unless you enroll a generic student.
And of course, you can only do that if your district has an allowance for that.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Dee.
Okay.
No more
Yep.
questions at the moment.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the People tab. In the People tab, this is everyone who's in my class. I could add another teacher to my class by inviting teachers. This is really a great feature when you have a co-teacher, or you might have students that are going out, they have a support teacher, a learning support teacher, and you might want them to see that or be a teacher in that, co-teacher in that class. So all you need to do is go there and throw in their email address and you're good to go. Students, of course, you're giving your students that join code to get in your class, which is the easiest way to do this. You can invite guardians. Now, if you do not see the option to invite guardians here, that means that it has to be turned on in the Google admin console by the Google administrator in your school district. So just so you're aware, on the back end of Google Suite, and when I say Google Suite, I'm talking Google Drive, Classroom, all of the things that are associated with your school district Google account. All of that stuff is managed in what we call the admin console. And that's managed by typically a technology director or coordinator or someone of that nature in your school district. There are many defaults that are in that admin console, and there's lots and lots and lots of toggle buttons that they need to turn on and off. So if you don't see invite guardians, it's something that just isn't toggled on the back end in your admin console. So it might be something that is just you reaching out to your district supervisor, whomever that might be, to say, hey, we would like to invite guardians. So by inviting guardians, when you click on that for that person, you are inviting them via an email address. And what happens when you invite guardians is the guardian access, again, has to be enabled in the admin console. What it does is the guardian then will get an email summary of their child's work, their activity. The guardian can choose to receive a daily email, meaning they get an email every single day of their child's missing work, upcoming work, and class activity. Or they can get that email weekly if they choose to. That's going to give them the weekly digest of their missing work, upcoming work, or class activity. And that guardian, parent guardian, can unsubscribe from that email at any time. So guardian access is allowing the parent or guardian to receive an email. They are not getting into their child's Google Classroom. So for those of you, and I know we've had this question before, that have said, I've sent parents the class code and they can't get in, because there is no parental access that way. The class code is only for the student to get into their classroom via that class code, and they need to be part of the school district's domain to do that. So the parents are getting access via this email. Now, of course, we're in remote instruction, so that doesn't mean that that parent isn't going to be sitting there and looking at their child's Google Classroom. This, typically is something that we use to keep parents up to date on their child's work during the school year, if the teacher is utilizing Google Classroom. Does anybody have questions about the guardian access?
Dee, this question is not about the guardian access, but has something to do with inviting.
Okay.
So the question is, if our code to invite students to Google Classroom isn't working, is that on the end of the district of the admin by chance? And I'm gonna assume that that person is not logging in with the appropriate Google account if the code is not working. However, I'm going to throw that to you because you might have another answer.
I don't have another answer for that. My only suggestion at this point, and I say this because of the diversity of our school districts, meaning we have school districts that are full-blown Google, and that's all they use. We have districts that are using things other than Google. We have districts that are assigning students email addresses and districts who are not, as well as Google accounts and on different domains. There's so many variables that play into that, that I can't give you a solid answer for your particular situation. If your code is not working, is it not working for one or two students? Is it not working across the board? That is definitely something that you should, if it's not working across the board, then it's definitely something that you need to check back with your district about. If it's not working for one or two students, that is something that I would suggest you are going to have to try to troubleshoot with that particular student or two. I know that's a very convoluted answer, but that's about the best answer that I could give you in that situation.
And one suggestion that I just would like to throw out, because I have another question here that is asking, do you have an example of the summary email that would be sent to the guardian weekly? And I know that you don't because you don't have any guardians, but for the person who asked about the code, as well as this question here, a lot of times when you Google this, the topic, the issue that you're having, you will find answers. By just Googling them. Sometimes there's YouTube videos on the issue. Another question, Dee, that I want to ask is, are we able to private message students on Google Classroom, and are students able to private message teachers?
On Google Classroom, can you private message students? So let's go here and let's go to a
student people, right?
Yeah, let's go to it doesn't, I can just go to a student in general. And, oops, let me go back to, I should be in people. Sorry, that's my fault. So the only thing you can do is email them. So you see right up here, I'm in Jordan or whatever, I can go up here and email the student. But the problem is, it's not really a problem, but if I tried to, let me actually go to the ed tech one because I have access to that right now. I don't have access to Jordan on the student side. So if I type in this message, nice work, right? And I want to include student work summary. Here is, here's the problem. If your school district is not using Gmail for students, it's kind of going into Neverland. Does that make sense? And most of our schools are not using Gmail for students. So it's not going to like an internal messaging system like it does in like an LMS, like if you're using Canvas or Schoology or something. So I'm now in as that student, and you see there's nowhere here that I got a message from my teacher. You see that? I'm in as that student I just sent an email to. There's nowhere that that's come to me in my Google Classroom. It would be going to an email, and that's only if your school district has emails set up for them. Because as a teacher, if I go to that, there is no way for me to put in an email address. You see that? Because it's going to default to the address that is a Gmail address. And most of your students likely don't have a school district Gmail address. Okay?
Question, D.
Yep.
Can apps like WhatsApp be linked to send messages with Google Classroom?
Say that again. Apps like WhatsApp?
It says what's up here. Can apps such as WhatsApp can be linked to send messages with Google Classroom? I think that's a no.
I think that's a no as well.
And
And
also,
I'm assuming that person meant WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
And I don't, here's my question. If you're going to be sending messages to students, I would suggest Remind. I'm not sure, and unless your school district has approved it, that WhatsApp is a good option.
there was also just a comment that one of the teachers on here got a private message from a student. And that would be another situation that I would encourage you to Google private messages within Google Classroom, because
Yeah,
maybe
honestly, I don't know.
we're not aware of.
So here, this slide, I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to that, the whole private messaging back and forth. But so you know, in this slide deck, and this is let me just go here for 1 second. You'll see that I have screenshots of much of some of the things that we did. But this last slide here, right here, ooh, sorry. At the bottom here, bit.ly/helpgc, and it is case sensitive. That's going to get you to the Google Classroom help. It is very succinct. It's laid out nice and clear. Anything that you have questions about in Google Classroom, you are likely to find there. The person that asked about what does that daily summary look like for Guardians, if you go to Guardians in that help, you're going to see they have a whole sample of what it's going to look like in that email to parents and guardians. So you'll be able to see that there. And just a reminder that Google Classroom question and answer, so many of these questions that you're asking, we're going to have a question and answer session on April 7th at 9 a.m. and April 8th at 1:15. And you can get those links on our CLI UPD Ready page. And this is your link for Act 48. and any valuable feedback that you have for us. Are there any outstanding questions? I know we've kind of run our time here. We are already at 10 o'clock, but hopefully we were able, I'm pretty sure I covered it, at least touched on everything I wanted to get to today. Any other questions?
There's no open questions right now. And oh, one just came in.
The exit ticket is above.
Oh, yes.
You look in the chat and I'll put it in again.
Somebody says the link isn't working.